They said we were richer than ever. Record markets, record profits, record growth. But what if it's all a lie? What if the wealth we see around us isn't wealth at all, but debt wearing a golden mask? History whispers that every illusion of prosperity ends the same way, with silence. Today we'll uncover how modern prosperity, the cars, the homes, the endless consumption, isn't built on progress, but on borrowed time. They call it the miracle of growth. I call it the great illusion. In the early 21st century, the world entered a new era, the age of easy money. Interest rates fell to zero. Credit flowed like water. Everyone, governments, companies, families, began to live beyond their means. The new god wasn't gold or labor or innovation. It was debt, cheap, addictive, and invisible. For the first time in history, humanity didn't need to earn prosperity. It could print it. Politicians promised stability. Central banks created faith out of thin air. The illusion worked beautifully for a while. People didn't save. They borrowed. They didn't plan. They consumed. And as long as everyone believed that tomorrow would be richer than today, no one asked questions. But illusions only survive as long as faith does. Behind every bright commercial, every smiling family signing a mortgage, every booming stock market, there was something darker, a machine that never stopped spinning. The debt machine. Every dollar spent was a promise stolen from the future. Every loan, every stimulus, every rescue plan was just more gasoline on the same fire. The system didn't reward creation, it rewarded leverage. The more you owed, the more powerful you became. Governments borrowed to win elections. Corporations borrowed to inflate their own stock prices. Families borrowed to keep up appearances. The entire world became addicted to a drug called credit, and the dealers wore suits. In 1929, they called it buying on margin. In 2008, it was subprime lending. Today, we call it financial innovation. Different name, same disease. People tell themselves it's progress, that we've learned from history, that central banks can always fix things. But what they don't see is that every rescue just makes the next fall more deadly. The economy isn't a circle anymore. It's a spiral, one that always spins toward collapse. Economies don't run on money. They run on belief. As long as people believe the system works, it does. Stocks rise, credit flows, governments boast of record growth. But when belief fades, everything stops. A single spark, a failed bank, a lost job, a rumor spreading on social media, and the illusion shatters. In 1929, people lined up outside banks that never reopened. In 2008, families watched their homes vanish overnight. And when faith disappears again, it won't be the markets that fall first. It'll be trust. Because when people stop believing in the system stops existing. The truth is uncomfortable. Prosperity built on debt is not prosperity. It's an illusion that feeds on time. The more we borrow from the future, the less of it we have left. We celebrate GDP growth while ignoring the silent numbers. Household debt, corporate defaults, unfunded promises. We pretend everything is fine because we can't afford to believe otherwise. That's not stability, that's denial. Look around. The average person works harder than ever but owns less than ever. Wages stagnate while prices rise. The rich multiply wealth by pressing buttons. The poor chase survival by taking loans. The middle class, once the foundation of modern civilization, is slowly disappearing, replaced by a generation renting their lives, one payment at a time. The illusion of wealth has turned into a prison made of credit scores and interest rates. We call it freedom. It's not. It's dependence, polished to look like success. And then there's the psychology, the one thing that never changes through history. In every era, people convince themselves that this time is different, that their system is smarter, safer, more advanced. In ancient Rome, they debased their coins and called it policy. In 1929, they called it innovation. Today, we call it quantitative easing. Every generation believes they've mastered risk. Every generation is wrong. When the cracks begin to show, governments react the same way they always have, with fear disguised as control. They print, they borrow, they manipulate numbers. They call it stimulus, recovery, stability. But these are just different words for the same thing: denial. The refusal to face the arithmetic of reality. Because numbers don't care about politics. They don't bend to optimism. If debt grows faster than income, collapse is only a matter of time. And the cruel irony, the illusion doesn't collapse evenly. It collapses on the weakest first. On the single mother paying off 3 credit cards. On the small business owner crushed by rates. On the worker whose savings melt in inflation. The elite will always find a parachute. The rest are left with the fall. That's the hidden cost of the illusion. Not just lost money, but broken lives. Families shattered, futures erased. We call it the cost of living, but it's really the price of believing. Because when you build a world on borrowed confidence, every second of peace is just another second borrowed from chaos. The system rewards speculation, not discipline. It rewards appearance, not reality. The people who play by the rules lose. The ones who manipulate the system win. That's why the illusion feels unstoppable. It's profitable. But all illusions have an ending. The Great Depression taught that when trust breaks, economies collapse. The 2008 crisis proved that when money loses meaning, power shifts. And today, as global debt passes 300% of GDP, we're standing at the edge of the same story, told again with new actors, new technologies, and the same blindness. The danger isn't that history repeats. The danger is that we refuse to listen when it does. The real question isn't if the system will break, it's when. Will it begin with a market crash, a wave of defaults, a government that can no longer pay its promises, or something more subtle, a slow erosion of trust until people simply stop believing in money itself? That's how all illusions end, not with noise, but with silence. Maybe you think this sounds dramatic, but every collapse starts as impossible. Before 1929, experts said markets had reached a new plateau. Before 2008, they said housing prices could never fall. Today, they say debt doesn't matter. That's what makes this moment so dangerous. The louder the confidence, the closer the reckoning. We've rebuilt a civilization that worships numbers on screens, but forgets that those numbers represent real lives. We've mistaken motion for progress, liquidity for wealth, printing for prosperity. The world looks stable, but it's the stability of a glass floor, and below it, pressure keeps rising. So ask yourself, are we richer than ever, or are we just more comfortable pretending? Are we living in prosperity or inside the longest illusion humanity has ever created? Because every empire in history believed it was invincible, until it wasn't. Rome, Britain, Wall Street. The names change, the psychology doesn't. The illusion of wealth is beautiful, it feels safe, it feels deserved. But beauty doesn't make it real. And when the bill comes due, as it always does, the silence that follows isn't just economic. It's moral, because what dies isn't just money, it's trust. If this story made you think differently about money and the world we live in, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Because this illusion is still unfolding. And the only thing more dangerous than a collapsing system is a society too blind to see it coming. History isn't over, it's repeating in slow motion. Thanks for watching.